Next guest on, sales team leader Chris Beasley. So Chris Beasley is the president of Compass Sales Solutions, an affiliated with Sales Acceleration, a national sales advisory company. He has over 30 years of sales leadership experience, and he also works with owners of small and medium-sized owned businesses to build high-performing sales teams that drive growth. So really excited to be able to have Chris sharing his thoughts with us. As we know, a lot of businesses have commented and requested some information and some experts to come share this message today. So Chris, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Sherman. It's great to be on today.
All right, now you told me that one of the most common things you work on with your clients is develop a good and effective sales process. What is a sales process, and why do you think it's so important for organizations?
Well, Sherman, business owners often tell me that they have poor visibility into what their salespeople are working on. They don't know, they see that they're working, but they don't know what's going to happen, which deals are going to close and when, which ones might be lost, and then they just have to sort of guess to know what's going to happen in the future, what their forecast is. And so that is preventable, and the solution is a good sales process so that everyone works the same way as customers move forward from a lead to a prospect to a quotation to a sale.
Now, I know that in the past you've talked to me about like predictability and scalability, and also we kind of hear those buzzwords around kind of the business industry. So what does that mean to you, creating a sales team or having predictability and scalability for a business?
Sure. Well, a sales process is the way in which every customer moves forward from a lead to a sale. So when you have each salesperson using a consistent approach, you'll be able to know what they're working on and what to expect in the future. So predictability and scalability gives the business owner visibility into what's going to happen. They can see where each prospect is in the process. Each salesperson knows what to do, and you know what's going to happen in the future when you can see what's happening with everyone in your company. And each salesperson doesn't have to just invent the wheel every time with what they're working on. And you can eliminate the detours that take a prospect off of the track to closure. So perhaps the sales representative would have an email with a customer, email with a prospective customer, and then fail to follow up with the next meeting. Maybe he has a meeting with the customer asks for a quote, and he needs to get some freight information, and that doesn't happen. The customer is waiting for information, and they finally go with someone else.
Now, you kind of mentioned this, an almost analogy of this path, this journey, right? And that there's can be some detours if you're always constantly reinventing the sales process. Why do you think a business owner needs to have these sales mile markers, if you will?
Sure. Mile marker is just defining the steps of the sales process, what has to happen in each, as a prospect moves forward to a qualified prospect, to an interested prospect, to a quotation, and at each step you have to know what the sales representative needs to know what to do, and everyone in the company needs to know what to do at each stage. So the mile markers provide that definition and the tasks which have to be assigned at each stage of the process.
Now, I know that you mentioned kind of the guesswork that sometimes happens in an organization as they have this sales force. Hey, what's going to sell? I don't know. I'm working really hard. I have a lot of activity, a lot of great meetings. But how does a sales process enable accurate forecasting instead of just guesswork?
Sure. Once you define the mile markers, then you attach to those your experience with your sales team, the data from previous years, so you know that when a customer gets to this stage, they have this probability of becoming a closed sale. And you know approximately how long that takes because you have experience. So you combine the mile markers with your sales team's experience, and then you have visibility into what's happening in the sales process with each of your salespeople, with all the prospects that they're working with, and then you can see what's going to happen at the end of the pipeline. So you have, if you need to have 10 sales and the probability of success at this stage is 10%, then you need to have 100 in order to get 10. So you can see how to set people's goals and how to see what's happening at the end of the process.
Now, I know a lot of times in process, they'll come out with this phrase of common sales language. What does that mean in your vernacular and helping businesses understand what that could be in a sales process?
By common sales language, I don't mean English or Spanish, but I mean that everyone in the company, all the sales representatives and all the people use the same terms for the same thing. So when you say you have a sales qualified lead, that means something to everybody. When you say a company is in the quotation stage, then that means something, and everyone knows what has to be done, what questions have to be answered, what tasks have to be completed to move that prospect forward in the process. And in fact, if you use a customer relationship management system, then everyone has tasks which are automatically assigned when the prospect reaches that stage. Everybody knows what they have to do and when to move it forward to the next stage.
So Chris, how does having a defined business sales process have a quick impact to the business?
Well, when you have a process, you can onboard new sales representatives more quickly. You can train them. You can say, this is the way we do things. Here's what you do to move a customer forward in the process, the tasks that have to be completed at each stage. So when you have a new person, you teach them that, and they get up to speed faster. And with that experience that you have, the probabilities of success, the timing, you know what to expect in terms of progress and revenues from a new sales representative. When that person, if they fall behind the curve they're expected to achieve, you can very quickly intervene, provide them additional training, coaching, guidance to bring them back up to speed and get them back on track more quickly.
Now, this makes a lot of sense, I think, for a lot of business owners in knowing that they need to have a more effective sales process or have one to begin with. How can someone go about building one?
That's a very good question, Sherman, and we're going to be addressing that in the next couple of weeks as I come back on the show. In the meantime, if you would like to ask me any questions about it, please call me at 713-588-0169 or at cbeasley, C-B-E-A-S-L-E-Y, at Sales Acceleration. That's SalesXceleration.com. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks again, Chris. Sales Team Leadership with Chris Beasley. Thanks so much for coming on the show today, and I look forward to hearing more about how business owners can start implementing a sales process in their system. We're going to take a quick commercial break, folks, and come back with Your Digital Biz with Mike Moran.